Hi everyone, I'm Ian. Imagine a video game console that broke out of the general category of gamers and into almost every group of people out there. A game console so influential it's still used in millions of households around the world 16 years after its release. A console that's so easy to pick up and play that everybody, including my own grandpa, had and used one.
The Nintendo Wii, one of the most iconic consoles in gaming, right next to the NES, Atari 2600, and Sega Genesis. The Wii was one of the most influential consoles of all time. Not only was it fun and inventive, it had good, easy-to-use motion controls, truly a first of its kind. But to truly understand how amazing the Wii was, we first have to go back to Nintendo's previous console, the GameCube. The GameCube was released in 2001. Part of the 6th generation of consoles, and it didn't really sell well. With a worldwide total of only 21.75 million units, it's surprising that it's not considered a flop. In fact, many people would consider it a huge success of a console. Now, I have a soft spot for the GameCube, as it was my first ever console and I've played hundreds of hours of games on it. But would I consider it a huge success?
No, why would I?
Sure, it's a good console. It has fun games, but it has one huge drawback. The discs. These are mini discs, also known as GameCube game discs. Now, they aren't specifically designed for the GameCube, but it is the most popular use of them. Mini discs are a neat idea, and they do help prevent piracy, but due to them being smaller, they can't hold as much data as a regular CD. Because of this, GameCube games couldn't be as large or complex as, say, the PlayStation 2 or Xbox. But that just meant that developers had to be more creative with how they made games.
No matter how you look at it, the GameCube wasn't a great hit. It had some good games, but nothing outstanding. With the GameCube, good luck finding someone who still owns one today. With the Wii, good luck finding someone that doesn't have one. Here, I'll prove it. Hello? Excuse me, sir, do you own a GameCube? How did you get in my house? That's what I thought. Now, do you own a Wii? Of course. I've got to stop killing clones. I'm going to run out eventually. After Nintendo tried to compete with Xbox and PlayStation by putting a lot of the same games on the GameCube, they decided to do something different with the Wii, but ultimately the same.
On paper, the specs of the GameCube and Wii are almost identical, but oh boy are they different in so many other ways. First off, form factor. While the GameCube is, well, a cube, a gripe with the way that the GameCube is set up is you can't really put it in a media center, as you have to be able to open the door on top to put in games. The Wii, on the other hand, is a rectangle. It also has a disc slot on the front, meaning that if you really wanted to, you could put it in a hole the exact size of the Wii, though you wouldn't be able to use any of the GameCube ports on the top of the system. Yes, the Wii can be used for playing GameCube games, but only the original model of the Wii. The Wii Family Edition and Wii Mini didn't allow GameCube backwards compatibility. This also meant that you couldn't use DDR mats and other accessories that used the GameCube controller ports on the later models of the Wii. I have the first edition of the Wii. My family got it for Christmas around 2010. At some point, it became the console that only my brother and I used, and we loved it. Mario Kart Wii, Wii Sports, Kirby's Epic Yarn, we played so many games on it. Although the GameCube was my first game console, I'd really consider the Wii to be the console of my childhood.
Enough about the Wii itself. How about controllers for it?
Obviously, we have the original Wii Remote. There's so much that you can do with the Wii Remote. The Wii Remote has an IR sensor on the front, which means that in conjunction with the sensor bar, you can use the remote as a pointer to control stuff on the screen. By the way, if you don't ever have a sensor bar, just use some candles. Now I can play without power. Not only can you use the pointer, the Wii also has motion controls. With the Wii Remote, you can also turn it on its side, and now it's pretty much an NES controller. With the controller on its side, it works perfect for side-scrolling games, and if you include the motion controls, then it works great for kart racers. Which, moving on, how about the Wii Wheel? Slap your Wii Remote into this hunk of plastic, and wow, this feels no more like driving. I'm sure for some people it's cool, but for me, Now look at this port on the bottom of the controller. All you can think is, what can you put in here?
Heartbeat sensor.
Wii Vitality sensor. It was cancelled. How about the nunchuck, for when you need to control 3D games, but only half as much as competitors. The nunchuck works good for what it is. It supposedly has motion controls. I can never get this to work, and it doesn't help that this thing weighs as much as an empty soda can. Some people complain the cable between the remote and the nunchuck is too short. but I never really had this problem. How about when you want to shoot a gun without really feeling like you're shooting a gun? The Wii Zapper. All you have to do is insert the Wii Remote, open up this hatch, wind the extra cable around this spool, run the cable out and through this other hatch, insert the nunchuck and put the door back on with the cable run through these channels. Just to play one of 27 games for it, which you could instead just play with a bare remote and nunchuck. Also, you only really want to play Link's crossbow training. How about something different, like the classic controller? This too plugs into the bottom of the Wii Remote, but it allows you to have 2 analog sticks instead of 1, though you do lose the use of motion controls. But for games like 007 and Tetris Party Deluxe, it works great, is what I would say if I owned one. I never had a classic controller. I never had a use for it. By the time I found out about it, it was discontinued and difficult to find. What else is there? Well, there's the Wii Balance Board, used for 114 games. Huh? The balance board is used for almost 5 times as many games as the classic controller, and all you do is stand on it, or not stand on it. Most of the games for the balance board are just fitness games, like Wii Fit, but there are some games that aren't fitness games that use it, like the Garfield Show, Threat of the Space Lasagna. Why? Almost all the games that use it that aren't fitness games just have it shoehorned in, and this becomes a problem. The Wii had so much shovelware on it, kind of like how app stores are today. Games that are just cash grabs that use the controls of the Wii. Not good, but they use them. Later on in the Wii's life cycle, there was a need for better motion controls, so Nintendo released the Wii Motion Plus. It came in 2 variants. The first is a plug-in model. I hate this. You can't put the controller into any accessory without having to take it off. The second one is one that was built into the controller. I prefer this one a lot more as you can't lose the dongle. You can just put the controller into accessories.
Enough about the controllers. How about some games?
How about New Super Mario Bros. Wii? When I was a kid, I was really bad at this game, so I didn't make it very far, but I still had fun playing it. The music, graphics, power-ups, worlds, there's so much about this game that I loved. I played New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, so having what is essentially the same game but on the TV with all new levels, it was awesome. What about Super Mario Galaxy? This game is amazing. Nintendo could have just made another game like Super Mario 64 or Sunshine, but they went completely different. Sure, it's a 3D Mario game, but the way that they implemented space and gravity into the game just makes it so much more. Moving on some of the worlds is difficult. Sometimes when you try and run around the world, the controls can get a little fidgety, but it's still an amazing experience that I'll never forget. What if you want to get some exercise?
No.
Wii Sports. This was a packing game for almost every Wii, and oh boy. Wii Sports was a good game to ship with the Wii. It shows exactly how you can use the Wii Remote in some of the best ways. Wii Sports has 5 games: boxing, bowling, golf, baseball, and tennis, and they're fun. They all really do feel like you're actually playing those sports. This was another one that I played a lot. It was actually the first game that I played on the Wii. One of the things that I never understood about Wii Sports though, is that later on in the Wii's life, Nintendo released a Nintendo Selects version of it. If you don't know what that is, Nintendo used to call it Player's Choice, where they would release alternate versions of the games at a lower price, typically around $20. So why make a Nintendo Select version of a game that you gave away with consoles? It makes no sense. Like, of course Wii Sports is going to be the best-selling game on the Wii. You gave out almost 100 million copies of it. Wii Sports also had a sequel, called Wii Sports Resort, which was bundled with the Wii Motion Plus accessory as you needed it to play the 12 sports games that it had. These sports were swordplay, wakeboarding, frisbee, disc golf, archery, basketball, table tennis, golf, bowling, power cruising, canoeing, cycling, and air sports. All these games control really well. Having the Wii Motion Plus for more precise actions is nice. You feel like you're actually playing these sports even more than with Wii Sports. Now I obviously have to talk about Mario Kart Wii, which is my favorite kart racer of all time. I would go as far as to say it's my favorite racing game. The game controls amazing. Using the Wii Remote as a steering wheel works flawlessly. It's so easy to control your kart. It was actually the #1 non-pack-in game on the Wii, and it makes sense. It's such a fun game to play with friends or family, and honestly, still holds up to this day. In the game, you have a total of 8 cups, 4 Grand Prix and 4 Retro Grand Prix. Each cup has 4 courses. In the Grand Prix cups, you have all new courses. In the Retro Grand Prix cups, you have recreated tracks from previous Mario games. The retro tracks also have new things added like jumps, pipe tricks, and some shortcuts. On the Wii, Nintendo also had virtual console games as a way to play many different classic games. But on the Wii, there were actually quite a few consoles supported for the Wii Virtual Console. NES, SNES, Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx 16, Master System, Neo Geo, Arcade, MSX, and Commodore 64. Each console's games cost different amounts. NES games were 500 points or 600 points for imports. SNES games were 800 points or 900 points for imports. N64 games were 1000 points or 1200 points for imports. Genesis games were 800 points. TurboGrafx 16 games were 600 to 900 points, and Neo Geo games were 900 points or 1000 points for imports. The whole imports thing doesn't make sense to me. I mean, they're virtual games. Why charge more for imported games? It costs you the same amount for you to release an imported game as it does for you to release a game that came out in that region.
All in all, the Wii was an amazing console. Sure, it set Nintendo back by about 10 years, and its successor wasn't all that great, but I love it. Looking back now, I get so much nostalgia for the Wii. But I wouldn't actually go back to it. Why would I? Why wouldn't I just play the Switch?